1,000 people may be different in many ways, but there's one thing that brings them all together. The Green Bay Packers. In Titletown, the blue-collar city only knows hard work, tailgating, championships, but more importantly, they know family.
We have a saying in this town: faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers are all that you need. Sanjay and I grew up in Green Bay. You could say that we are Green Bay, or even better, the voices of Green Bay. We bring a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience.
Friendship, family, and football.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is the Freezer Podcast. What is up? We are back. This is the Future Podcast, where we bring your local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. I'm Sanjay, and alongside me, like always, is Fred and Matt. And we are live, brought to you by the Sweep Studios and brought to you by Game On Wisconsin. And I knew I wasn't going to get this thing wrong a second time in a row, so I'm glad I was able to get this intro done. We're back. It's football season. We have a preseason too, and that's what happens when you don't do this in a while, but we're back. It is week one. It is Super Bowl week for the Vikings. It's just week one for the Packers, but you know what it means. It's a big rivalry game in the silly city of Minneapolis, and in what is they even call that? Is that Target? No, that's baseball. What's their stadium?
U.S. Bank Stadium.
U.S. Bank.
Corporate
US
Field.
Bank. Corporate.
Sounds lovely.
We are back in the swing of things, and it's season start. Guys, how we doing? It's kind of crazy that in basically 48 hours we got football.
Well, I want to say I have a new mug for the season, courtesy of my aunt. It says "Let's get ready to rumble," and I have to. She put brand new batteries in, and it's just for this moment.
What?
Let's get ready to rumble, boys. It's season. It's go time.
Wow.
Let's go. Let's get ready to
be
rumble.
A Sunday addition to your routine.
I need that.
I don't know where she got it. I'm going to ask her. I think we all three should have one.
First off,
so.
yeah, I was going to say, if she's watching,
Cheers.
First off, she should always be watching. Let's just
Yes.
be honest.
Oh, she's watching somewhere. I know she is.
Then we need to get a link to these mugs, because that is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
and we would do it on the show.
Yeah.
And we would personally say shout out to her for introducing these to our lives.
100%. We'll send her a signed shirt of Matt or something.
Yep. She doesn't have any of those yet. So, but hey, well, football's back, boys. No more, preseason. No more talking about second and third stringers. We can finally dig our claws into. Oh, Jesus Christ!
That's what we'll send.
New season, old picks. God damn it.
Hey, that one never gets old.
No.
It never does. It never does. But I don't know. I'm just happy to be back here with you guys. Like the fact that we're going to be sitting down at 3:15 on Sunday and watching some live football. I can't overstate my excitement for it.
Yeah, I'm super hyped about it. You know what? This last weekend was fun because we got to see some college, right? Like I was really hyped about watching, and there were some killer college games. We won't get into all of them by any means, but that kind of set the tone a little bit. I started to get a little hyped up about all right, we're here, we're back. It's still kind of, I don't know why I still can't quite grasp the fact that it's actually happening on Sunday. I don't know if it's like a childhood excitement or if it's, I don't know, but I think it's a good feeling. It's a different feeling than I've had the last 3 years. So maybe there's something behind that. But it's 3:15. We got Charlie's birthday party that day. I told everybody, I'm out at 3, and I'm full on in the Packers.
It's go time.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's dive right into it. Kind of some, we'll start with the negative first because, we might as well get it out of the way. But no Lazard at practice. I need to confirm if there was practice today or if there was not, and if he was attending. I haven't really been on Twitter today, but a little cause of concern with the hamstring injury. Sounds like a perfect Packer injury for a wide receiver. Seems like we haven't missed those in a while, but cause of concern for you guys with Lazard being injured.
Well, you have to be a little bit because the injury itself. I mean, hamstring is one of those things, man, that can just sort of linger for weeks or months or throughout the whole season. I think Ian Rappaport did say today that He's on track to play, it sounded like. So
Okay.
whether that means he's, in limited fashion or he's a full go, I'm not sure. If he's suiting up, I think it inherently is a good thing, but also it's like you do want to monitor that because you don't want Lazard, who the Packers are clearly banking on being wide receiver 1 this year. You don't want him, hamstrung, no pun intended, through the whole season. But also it's like, Christian Watson didn't really practice a whole lot. So you need these guys to be healthy and available. We don't really have the luxury of dipping into the well and a bunch of experience. So hopefully he's good to go. It sounds like, again, he's on track, but my concern level is a little bit there. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
I'm going to ride the wave of what I've been saying. I said last week, I know, obviously I want to win. Don't get it twisted. I'm not worried about it. But I kind of look at this as like, would Lazard be great for sure? But it's kind of a nice little opening idea for the other receivers. Like, come out, come play first game of the season. Like, let's see what we have here. Let's see some options, because I don't know how confident I'd be in Rodgers throwing to the other guys if Lazard was out there. So I'd like to actually get the opportunity to see some of them play with Rodgers in this setting. It's going to be obviously very difficult setting, being in corporate dome, but I do think that I'm not that worried about it. Now, I would say I am more concerned about the longevity of it, right? That's obviously an issue. Hamstrings will hamper people for a long time. So I just don't want to deal with that. But that being said, I'm kind of hyped. Like, let the other guys eat for the first game. Let's see what they're made of, because you talk about game 1, first season against Minnesota, heated rivalry. Bears aren't in it anymore. Like, you're going to see which guys are legit coming out of that rookie class, even with Sammy Watkins. And that's something I'm kind of looking forward to see.
I'm a little concerned just because it is obviously, no matter what, it's a weapon on an offense that I'm already a little nervous about, regardless if you care about winning or not winning, this game, particularly on week 1. But I just need to see this offense fully loaded and see what is it going to be doing this year, because this is a whole different. This is where I saw a tweet about if Matt LaFleur is not going to win Coach of the Year for his other 3 years, he should win it for this year if he somehow gets to 13-3 or 4, whatever he does this season. Because this is a receiving core that, is absolutely, not a household name of guys.
Unproven.
Right. Unproven. Yeah. And, I mean, if anything, the highest draft pick guy is a second-round pick in Christian Watson and Randall Cobb. So, actually, no, Sammy Watkins was technically a firster, but, he's a little bit, outdated. But I want to see this team full strength. And, to see him kind of not be there, I don't know, does that put a hitch into the system on, who's going to get targets, what's going to happen, are the rookies ready? All these questions are, legitimate questions, but it helps to have 12 at the helm. And that leads us right to our next topic, because it also helps when you're going to get 2 star-studded tackles being potentially, at least right now, they're listed as starters back in the lineup. Elton Jenkins, David Bakhtiari, right now listed as your starters. I think it's a huge, huge thing that we've been kind of more so just Bakhtiari, because we just didn't know if this guy was ever returning based on, the last couple of years. But finally, we got him practicing, finally got him in drills. Now he's been in team drills, and now he potentially could be starting. Huge news there. And then the Elton thing, I mean, that's a cyborg. So I don't know if he's a human. He might be a cyborg, but, but go ahead, Matt.
What's the word on Jenkins? Because I know a report earlier was that it looks like Bakhtiari is probably going to start, and Jenkins they weren't totally sure of, or he might be a little bit off.
I heard that too,
I thought it would be flipped. I thought it would be Jenkins playing, then Bakhtiari coming in a couple weeks.
I think there's more of a concern just based on, okay, dude, you might be a freak athlete and like just some ungodly known wizard at coming back from an injury, but we might still hold you back because at the same time, you still have Yash. You still have a guy like Zach Tom who's shown some pretty high upside as a right tackle for being so small. But, you have someone that you can put in place. And to go back to Fred's, original point of, does this game really matter in the grand scheme of things? Probably not, but it is a divisional game that could have some implications on the North, and it may have implications on a team that, if we don't win a lot of games, maybe this is a wild card team that we're trying to, fight to get in. So there's always implications regardless if it's week 1 or week 17, but we'll see. Fred, how about you? What's your thoughts?
I agree with him, man. I would say the only thing that, like, my first initial thought was, do we need to rush them out onto the field, given it's week 1? But then I started thinking, okay, would we rather lose? This sucks. This is definitely a devil's advocate situation here. Would you rather lose Aaron Rodgers because they're not in, or would you rather lose Elton Jenkins or Bakhtiari for another couple of weeks? I think we all know the answer
Neither.
to that. So I guess, man, I'm just gonna go ahead and default that to the doctors and the trainers there, that they know what they're doing, because I don't know, and I can't obviously sit here and be like, well, they should play or they shouldn't play. I just hope that it's the right choice and that there's no thought process behind the players of, I'm antsy, I want to get out there, and then they risk something happening even worse. That's all I hope for. That's all I can talk about.
I think if there's one team that I absolutely trust when it comes to medical decision, I mean, it's the Packers. So when a guy's out there playing, damn well he's been cleared 6 ways from Sunday. So if Jenkins is out there, he's ready to rock. But I wouldn't risk it if he's not ready. Obviously, you don't put him out there. You have a long season ahead of us here. Obviously, you want to beat the Vikings. To me, it's kind of a tone-setting game where it's like you have a chance to go on the road right away, beat your division rivals. Set the early dominance of the division, and then kind of go on into the season after that. If they were to drop it, not the end of the world. And I wouldn't want to risk anybody's, longevity over the next couple of months just for game 1. So the Packers will clearly do what's smart, and that's kind of their MO.
And I think there's a big thing too about, we were fully expecting neither of these guys to play. We were ready for Josh Nijman to be on the left side, and we were like, all right, who's going to be the second?
Who's going right?
Who's going on the right side? Because, you lost Billy Turner. But now
my only other fear that I'll say, the only other thing I could think of too that I do fear a little bit is, this is a Super Bowl for the Vikings, right? We all know that anytime any team in this NFC plays us, it's a big time game, and they're not always the most classy of teams sometimes. I fear that's a concern of mine. And I also fear, and I've said this for the last couple of years, I do think that there's a lot of talent on those Vikings teams. I would say this year's a little bit less than I thought in previous years. But the last thing you want is for them to get a little headway on us, right? And all of a sudden they do us, and then they're a little bit confident. We don't want that. We don't want to keep that away.
I think you need to sound that thing off every time you drink. I actually, as annoying as it might sound, but I feel like that, especially.
Let's get ready to rumble, boys.
That is a huge point that we don't, we kind of overlook, Fred, is how intense these games are. We've seen the extremes that Minnesota has taken, and the pleasure that they've taken in injuring players. So I do think, there is that cause of concern, but at the same time too, we're playing football. Like, you can't be thinking that those guys are out to,
for sure,
hurt you. So, at the same time, I'm sure that defense is revving to get back at those guys and, put Kirk Cousins to the dirt. So, I think it's going to be a hard fought game regardless. And that's going to get pretty bloody out there, but hopefully we have some pretty good tackles out there.
Really quick before you say something, Matt, does Zadarius play dirty or does he stay classy? Let's say he gets a sack. If he gets a sack, is he classy or is he a douchebag about it?
I already think he's going to be a dirtbag the whole game. That's my prediction. Okay. And I think Packer fans should just embrace the fact that he's probably going to get a sack or two and he's going to go buck wild. Hopefully it's just early in the game and he spends all his energy and then he's a nobody. Also remember, Chandon Sullivan is a Viking now. So, look out. He'll probably catch a tipped interception or something.
Or he's going to give up a freaking 50-yard bomb to Christian Watson.
Hopefully that. But this game kind of reminds me a little bit. A couple years ago, we went on the road week 1 against them, and I remember having some trepidations, oh God, I don't know, Vikings, and we kicked the shit out of them. So I'm hoping, so that's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, I do think too that Zadarius, does he have a thing? Does he have a beef with the players? I mean, I know they didn't give him the captain spot, so maybe that's a player thing that kind of
he's upset right now,
or he's upset as an organization thing.
Because don't the players vote for the captains?
They do.
Yeah, so there was a beef there, and then the fact that he ghosted the team, went and rehabbed, went and pretended everywhere else, and then just showed up on the doorstep again once the playoffs started. I think there's absolute beef between the players and Zadarius. I'm also excited as a fan of football to watch Jair and Justin Jefferson, because I think that's a matchup we're going to get for a very long time. And that hypes me up because when they've had great players, right? Minnesota's had great players. Offensively, we've never had a corner to like match up to the Randy Moss or the Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Finally, we have somebody that's like, hey, we can match. And I think Justin Jefferson is an absolute talent. I hate it that he's on the Vikings, but
I do too.
we all do, I think, because we all know how close it could have been.
It could have been us.
I love watching that matchup, and I think that's like this different, like that's the new thing to watch, right? On this game, more so than like the Zimmer versus Rodgers kind of thing that we've had for a long time, or like the Kendricks Barr versus Rodgers thing. Like I love watching a dynamic corner and a dynamic wide receiver just battle each other.
And it stems longer than that. It's like Keelan Stokes. It's Osgood and Razul probably.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Who did they matchup?
Who did they just pick up too? What trash did they pick up?
Oh, Jalen Reagor.
Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's another right. I mean, so I don't know. I'm very excited about that. I love good matchups, and I feel like this is like a premier matchup.
There's a lot of good matchups out there. I mean, you got freaking who if it's Campbell and Quay Walker on an Irv Smith, whatever that might be, that could be pretty fun. I mean, we'll talk about
Quay on Dalvin. I mean, that's another idea.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot going on there.
We'll talk about the defense a little bit. I can't believe I keep calling it that because it's just so annoying. But
just all in, you bought in. It's okay.
I did. Unfortunately,
okay.
Thank you, Rich Bisaccia. I will talk about special teams. It's Mason Crosby.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know it is kind of a sorry thing for all you guys because we're talking about special. Now, you know what? It is important. They're still part of the team. Mason is, part of this team, and we haven't seen him at all this whole year.
No.
We did put the other kicker. God, man, his name is so hard. But Amiz, right? I think other kicker.
Number 45.
Yeah, exactly. Number 45 on the practice squad. But are you guys at least, and we can kind of bundle this with the entire special teams. Are you nervous about special teams and Crosby? Like, how ready will he be? This is a big game. It doesn't have to really be under the elements being in the dome, but regardless, you haven't really had much of, I mean, I know he's been kicking inside maybe, and he's been, he's Mason Crosby, right? He's the Silver Fox, but, is there a bit of concern altogether?
I think there has to be slightly just because of how the special teams has been. And I know Bisaccia is in town now, and there's been a pretty much almost I don't want to say a full turnover, but a lot of new guys on special teams now. But Crosby not kicking all summer, does make you have to wonder, like, how is he going to be rusty? He's in that environment now, kicking, and it matters. And
are we going to get the Lions game again? Are we going to get
exactly?
We don't know what he's going to be out of the gates. But go ahead.
So that's my concern there. I'm more so like interested and intrigued to see how generally the special teams does. Like, they had a couple of gaffes during preseason. They had some nice wrap-ups and coverage. It's kind of a mixed bag, so I'm really interested to see what they end up doing. But I guess to sum that up, it's more so just looking at Mason Crosby going, what version are we going to get after he basically had the summer? I don't say the summer off, but he's not kicking in practice and in games. So you just hope that the Lions game doesn't come up in week one and he blows a couple of field goals. So, but that said, he's a Silver Fox. He's been reliable, so I'm choosing to believe he's going to be fine.
Yeah, part of me feels like there's like this I kind of feel like he's ready to go, right? Like he's ready to like not go like on the field, like his time is coming, right?
It just I
don't know, it's just this weird feeling of like I think we need to start getting ready for that moment because he's been there. But then I also like remember watching Adam Vinatieri in white hair and kicking bombers. Like he's still a kicker, right? Like he doesn't have to be in pristine condition. He's still mentally very strong. Like he's still that guy. So like I guess I don't really put it up on a list of like concern, but I would say that, and I don't know if this is maybe just because of their choice, but it felt like they're upping the look or the finding of the replacement. It feels like just seems like they're bringing in guys a lot more, and it just it's kind of quietly. It's during the season. It's very minimal. It's I got this kicker here, kicker there. So it definitely feels like they're starting to think we've got a year, maybe two at best, with a guy that's been super reliable. And let's be honest, like we can make fun of kickers all we want. We are in the division of shitty ass kickers who lose a lot of games because they've missed kicks. And guess how many games we've lost because we've missed kicks? Not nearly as many. So like
Not as many. Nice
I
embarrassing fashion too.
yeah, I mean, you look at
Yeah, when
double
we do,
doink,
it's pretty
you look
funny,
at
but-
Minnesota. Yeah, but Minnesota's lost
Blair
championship
Walsh, I don't know
opportunities. Double Doinks has lost opportunities to go to Super Bowl. I mean, there are things that like these are drastic. Like when we lose to the Lions week 7 or week 8, like sorry, we'll get over it. So it is like one of those weird things we've all just kind of like grown to
Take
just
for
be like,
granted.
yep, we're good, we got it.
Yeah.
So go.
Well, that was going to be my follow point to you, Fred, was like, be careful what you wish for, because how many teams have, I mean, I think the Bears are probably still kicking themselves from letting Robbie Gould go, who's still a fine kicker in the league. I mean, it's like, so it's like, you don't want to push Mason Crosby out just because of his age. Like, it's got to be because the guy's legs just shot. And I think he's getting there, but
he's done.
Yeah, and I'd hate to just replace him because I feel like it's getting harder for the NFL to bring in kicking talent that can sustain and last. Is it that hard? Is it that low of a talent pool? I'm like, is there an opportunity? Should men be raising their sons to be kickers? Because I think there's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Sanjay, Arjun, come on, have that boy kicking.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie's going to be playing quarterback, but you know,
Charlie's playing quarterback, and he's going to be in the NHL.
No problem playing kicker. Let's be honest.
No, that is an absolutely brilliant point you bring up, dude. Because seriously, like we do look at kickers as such a joke, but like name 4 that are just rock solid right now. You can't.
That's
you
hard.
can get through like
Tucker,
Gold, but that Gold's still on the back end. Crosby, like who are like the guy like. Tucker's another 20. He's going to be here for 20 more years. Who's another guy that's a 20 more year guy? Like they're just not out there. Which is astonishing. Like right, because like you should think that it should just be whatever, but there has to be some level of mental strength that has to go behind it. Like I kicked in high school for a little bit. I know Sanjay, you did as well. Like there's definitely like when you're lined up and you got nothing but dudes coming at you to rip your face off and break your leg while you try to kick, and to just block that out and do that like at high school level is hard enough. I can't imagine being like you're the kicker kicking a field goal to go to the Super Bowl and everyone's trying to rip your like that's got to be very tough.
Sanjay, you could back this up. I think that they should go into like high school golf teams, because I think golfers have to be mentally strong because it's an individual sport, particularly people that compete on like on the pro stage or even semi-pro. Like you got to be able to tune out all these people watching. Hell, when I go play golf and 2 guys are watching me hit that I'm playing through, I shit my pants. So I'm like, oh my God. So go find a golfer, but hey man, you want to learn how to kick? And I think those guys where you go.
I mean, honestly,
you're dialed in right now. Let's go keep talking about stuff because you got.
I know.
Like,
I was that nap I took after work. I feel great.
It's the naps, man. You gotta take naps. Hey, everybody, when you're at home, take naps.
No one has time for that. You're like Rich Pasasha too, man. You might have to go challenge for his job.
I'm available.
All right, let's move on to that defense that we were talking about earlier. I think there's so many cool matchups to see, and we're so excited to see that back end with those 3 corners. We're hoping that Savage can have a more consistent year where he's catching more of the interceptions. Adrian Amos is that rock back there, and then obviously that front 7 with the additions of Wyatt and Jaron Reed and Quay Walker. There's a lot to be excited about, and I think there's this expectation now from Joe Barry. I mean, not even 2 years ago, this team was just like, or whatever. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. They just said, get him out of here. Like, let's find a different defensive coordinator. Even though we were just like, what? We just got rid of one. Now you want to get rid of this one. So, it's a big thing for everybody to be like, yeah, we love Joe Barry. But at the same time too, Joe Barry's getting every Christmas present possible on this defense. And it's finally his time to shine, to see if we can be a top 5 defense, hell, even the best defense in the NFL. In a lot of my fantasy leagues, I'm reaching on the Packers defense because I do feel like it could be this defense that is bang busters, and Green Bay or even the NFC will know, hey, that defense up there, it's not Aaron Rodgers. It's that defense up there that is causing a lot of problems, and we have to get through that defense in the cold. That could be some issues. So your thoughts, guys, on this defense as a whole? Joe Barry, like what is your expectations? Are they mild? Are they high? Are they low? Like what are you at?
I would say if we are not a top 3 defense, I will be absolutely astonished. Now that is completely barring injury, right? That
Right,
is
of course.
always the number one factor in this situation. But I think from head to toe, it is the most electric defense when you mix talent versus age, right?
Yeah, youth is
I
there, man.
really love. I think Denver has a very good young solid defense. I think Cleveland has a very good young solid defense. Maybe on the back end of that. Obviously, the Rams have a lot of star power on their defense, but when it comes to just young, kind of swaggery, studly dudes, like I love this defense. I love Jair and Stokes. When I made the prediction we were going to draft Stokes, which I'm going to hold on to that for the next 10 years,
You should.
I was all about having this swaggy combo, this swaggy duo, these two little firecracker dudes that are going to get up in your face and mess with you. Imagine it's like when you're on like the schoolyard and you got like some little twerp comes up to you and he starts messing with you. And then all of a sudden his little twerp friends comes up to you and he starts messing with you. And you're like, get out of my face. But now you're 2 against 1. And you're like, oh shit, this actually might not turn out that great. But that's how I feel like with them. You look at Savage progression every year has gotten better. Rashawn Gary has the expectations in my mind to be the best edge rusher in the league. And then you look at just that interior part of that front seven, I think just dramatically increases. Kenny Clark, obviously, we've seen him do it by himself for so long and be successful. Now you see the extra help. Quay, I think, is a sideline to sideline. Everybody knows it, right? I can sit here and run through every guy and talk about why he's good, why they're great. We all know they're super good. I can't imagine that this should not be a top 3 defense. So I will argue you on that, true North Packers fan, any day of my life. And I think it also helps being the NFC North. I think we've got a little bit of, we got 2 games against a couple teams that we were pretty good at. So that's going to bolster stats. But it's something that I feel absolute confidence in. And I'm super excited for them just to take the field. They'll have hiccups. They'll have mistakes. There's going to be moments where they're not good. They're going to give up points. We're not going to shut teams out every day. Get over it. But I would like to think that if we can hold teams under 20 points per game, that is an absolute victory for us, especially when we have an offense this way. So I'm super hyped. I'm not trying to get too hyped over it and like express it as much as I want, because the little boy inside me is like, this is my Madden team. This is who I would have built on Madden. These are the guys. So, but I think everybody's got pretty high expectations. Maybe I'm on her too much. I don't know. What do you got, Matt?
Swaggery, by the way.
Swaggery. I like that. I'm with you, man. I think this is the most excited and confident I've been about a Packers defense in quite some time going into the year. And I think the team knows that early on in the year, while maybe the offense is kind of figuring things out, we don't really know how things are going to look yet. I'm sure they do, but the defense is going to be relied upon to kind of keep that score low. I mean, I know that's the objective anyways, but to keep the score low so that way the Packers aren't having to, put up 28 plus just to be in the game. But we've mentioned on the show every time we get on here, and to Fred's point, is just every level you have at least one dude, and most levels have multiple dudes. And I think in this division where the Vikings are clearly trying to go to more of an air raid pass first offense, we couldn't be more set up to defend it than we are right now. You have a combination of interior brutes to hold the run, but you got your pass rushers on the outside, athletic, rangy linebackers in the middle, and dogs in the secondary. So all eyes will be on that, Jefferson, Jair matchup, Stokes and Thielen, etc. But I just feel like that this defense minimally is going to be a top 10, and I'm shooting for top 5. I would love to say they're going to be number 1. I think they had the potential to be the number 1 overall defense. This is, of course, assuming health. But they're going to be a top 3rd, if not, again, top 5 defense. And if they're doing that again just makes the offense not have to be world beaters. They can do what they want to do, which is maybe run the ball more and be more of a controlled offense instead of, run and gun like they've kind of been in the past when they have maybe more weapons. But I think that's the beauty of this whole thing. And the mystery is like, what's it going to be? The one thing we do know is that they're going to be tough as shit on defense. And, I think a better challenge right away than the Vikings. It's good. The passion's going to be running high. I think that they're preparing for us. We prepared for them. So let the best guys win.
If I can, I'm going to quick touch on this. And I agree with you that there will be people who take a step back or regress over progress. And I think Rasul is an absolute for sure on that one, right? Like
Yep.
the guy had a remarkable year last year. He made some just game-winning interceptions. Those aren't going to happen this year. Let's be realistic. I would say he probably has half, if that, of this amount of interceptions he had last year, and especially like game-winning ones. But he's earned the respect. He's a hard worker. He's a good veteran, and he's a hell of a third corner to have on your team. And so that I'm okay if he takes a step back because you are getting Jair back. So I'll take the step back from Rasul, bring up the Jair. As far as Campbell, I think I would disagree with that. I don't think Campbell's going to have a year down. I think he's going to flourish off of what he did last year. And there's a little bit of hunger because I think he got a little recognition, but not really probably what he fully deserved, all things considered. And I think the other thing is that when you look at the linebackers, right? I'm going to go back really quick. I'm trying to be really fast on this, but I look back at years and years and years and years in the past, and Blaine Hornes can talk to us. I know he's not on here, but we talked about linebackers because he always brought up linebackers. We had the Blake Martinez's and the AJ Hawks and people like that were running that middle of the defense, and there was no defensive line, right? Offensive linemen were getting to those linebackers before the running back was even getting this. Like it was just terrible. So Blake Martinez, everybody was bashed on him, but he made the tackles because he had to make the tackles because the running back
was the first contact. Yeah,
he was always the first one. That's not going to be the same this year, I don't think, with Campbell. He's got some big boys up front. You got Slayton, you got Reed, you got Kenny Clark. You got so much talent up there that I think it's going to open up the ability for guys like Campbell and Quay to not have to be so divergent on holes and can kind of play their roles a little bit better. And I think that's kind of where I don't see him necessarily regressing, and I don't know if it's a progress or a regress. It might just be as good as it was last year. And
even if it just plateaus, if he's just the same guy, okay, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so, guys. I mean, I do think this is a defense that we can all get behind. And for once, I'm kind of like, let's kick the ball because I'm ready to see this defense first. You know, I'm always kind of like, hey, I want to see 12 and let them, run up the field and get a touchdown right away. But I'm cool with kicking, get the ball at half, and hopefully kick their ass on defense right away on the first.
Are you so you're more excited to watch our defense than our offense?
I am, because 100%. I know what this offense. I've seen this offense 3 years in a row. And I know
without Devontae though.
Yeah, I know. Without 17, it's a lot of mystery and a little bit of nerves here. But I don't know if this offense can give me any more than it's already given me. Right? Like,
that's a good point.
I think Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon could be a thing to watch around the league, and I think people are going to take notice how big of a tandem we have. But what's the bar now? I mean, this guy's won back-to-back MVPs. He's had, one of the greatest receivers of all time playing with him. And he's, had a pretty awesome offense, back-to-back years. And it's like, it still comes up short. Whereas, have we seen this defense before? I mean, maybe not since 2011 or 2010. So go ahead, Matt.
Well, the bar for the offense has to be getting to the playoffs and not
right, of course.
Disappearing is showing up and playing well.
Games, right? Just put points.
Exactly.
I think
that's the bar.
I'm more excited. To your point, I think I think it's LaFleur. It's the system. I'm more interested to see how that starts actually getting. Every year we say a little bit of here, a little bit of there. When's the system finally going to come into place? I think they finally have a good majority of those pieces locked in with the dual running back ideas, the Jaguaras, the Tanya. I mean, it is because I always am going to go back to it's going to be a San Francisco-esque offense with a little bit of extra on the side. So like they have those pieces. I want to see how the offense actually. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in seeing how the offense and the scheme looks. I'm not interested in Rodgers. I know what Rodgers can do.
Right.
But I would say without a doubt, I'm way more hyped to watch.
Go ahead, Matt.
Do you guys ever worry that as the league hires more like Shanahan descendants, that the more the defense is getting used to these looks, and part two is, do you think the Packers have a unique advantage there? Because basically, I think this offense is like 70% LaFleur and 30% what Rodgers loved from McCarthy, and those other Shanahan offenses don't have that wrinkle in it. So
that's what they don't have. They don't have an MVP quarterbak, and they don't have a running back tandem that can really, really make those fake, those play actions and those, Here's one thing I really quick, and I know Fred will probably talk about this. Rodgers has run 2 RPOs in this entire LaFleur system. I read that somewhere, and he's not a big RPO guy.
He hates motion too.
Right, and he hates the motion. He kind of said that. So with no Devontae, I think, as like Fred said, more of the Josiahs, more of the Tanyans, and more of the Amaris that we're going to see in this offense, maybe that could be like the thing that catapults Rodgers to be like, look, I just got to trust the system that guys are going to get open. And I'm just going to have to like, cater to a little bit more. Where you said 70-30, I think it might be like a 20-80 kind of thing.
Or
where
20-80. Okay.
Well, I'm saying like it's more LaFleur now, and Rodgers is just going to add his experience and his swagger and his knowledge to the game.
You're right.
And he'll be able to say, hey, I can get out of this, but I'm going to trust this play that's going to be called in. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah.
And I think I feel comfortable with the 70-30. I think that's a good number. But to your you literally pretty much said exactly what I was going to say here is what's different about the other teams is they are live and die by the scheme, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If the scheme don't work, you're fucked.
Yep.
If our scheme don't work, we got a 4-time MVP who can flip the script and do some stuff.
The 49ers don't have that, good. Isaac.
49ers don't have it.
They've never had it.
Shanahan didn't have it in Washington. He sort of had it a little bit in Atlanta with Matt Ryan, but like that's the difference is that we don't have to live and breathe by the system. The system is not
Stafford.
If we go out there and we're like, this is the system, we're gonna run it, and all of a sudden we realize this is not working. Like that's where I think sometimes there's like the disconnect, and I think that him and Rodgers kind of struggle because I think Rodgers can see it, and I think like that's where I think they have to be able to look at each other and say, "You go do you now." Like I got it, right? Like I fucked up. The system's not working.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that like they have to be able to look at each other and say, "We're gonna go with your route because mine's not working right now." Like and I think Rodgers and him have a good enough relationship where I'm hoping that because it's more Rodgers I think than I'm concerned about than anything, but I hope that they can find that perfect little medium wherever it is.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Tanya said. Sticking to what got you there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so
if you can stick to what got, and let's just say, and Isaac, real quick, Tanyan could be Kittle. Let's just be honest. When he had that huge year, 2 years ago with the 10 touchdowns, I mean, that guy was schemed open just like Kittle is. I know Kittle has a lot to his game as well. I'm not trying to, downplay Kittle. And what we saw from Amari Rodgers in that last preseason game could be an outlook of what they want to use him
100%.
as. Not saying he's Debo because Debo is in a class of his own, and I think it's it's tight. Yeah, it's hard to match a Debo, but I think there could be elements that we would see in this 49ers offense with us. So, lastly, before we kind of wrap things up here, let's talk about the Vikings. We have to at least pay a little bit of a note to them as far as talk about what they have. It's a new coach. There's no more Zimmer. Everybody kept saying the Zimmer versus Rodgers. I'm like, dude, this guy's not even good. Every time they bring up Zimmer, I'm like, this guy's like, he's been out-coached, outclassed. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, maybe he might get the random win because Clay Matthews hits the guy at the end and it should have been an interception.
Refs give him the win.
Like dumb crap like that. That's how I remember Zimmer winning, or one of the guys
Planting Rodgers.
Yeah, right.
Collarbone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I do think Kevin O'Connell, right? That's his name. Interesting guy. Another McVay descendant.
Shannonite, yeah.
Right? Is Shannon. Ooh, I like that. Shannonite. You better like keep
more
that,
naps. More naps.
More naps, baby. More naps.
He's just gonna have a shirt that says more naps.
More naps.
More
naps, more
another
staff,
Shannonite,
baby.
and I think it's going to be a new look. And with all these weapons that Minnesota has, and like we mentioned before, with the matchups that we can have on defense against their offense, this is going to be a new look kind of as well. And do they take a step back on defense? Because now, whatever Zimmer was, he was at least a defensive coach. And for the most part, they seemed like at least they weren't going to just get trounced, right? Like it was still tough for Rodgers to go and throw 4 touchdowns, but it wasn't, like, hey, you're just going to, run all over us and throw all over us. But do you guys see an elevation in the offense and a step back on the defense? Or do you think things kind of remain the same now that I think it's still. I'm trying to think of who their defensive coordinator is. Is it the guy that was in Green Bay for so long? Ed Donatel? Is he over there?
Is it really?
Is it really Ed Donatel? I'm
I don't
pretty
know.
sure. But I know Mike Pettin was there for a minute. And obviously Mike Smith is over there.
Yes.
But
It's Ed
Defensive
Donatel.
coordinator for Minnesota Vikings.
What
yep.
a retread of a retread.
Naps,
My God.
people.
Okay, the
Naps.
Vikings to me feel a little bit like they're trying to build a sports car on a really old chassis. Like their offensive offensive line,
bro.
their
Wow.
offensive
Let's cool you off. Let's cool you
Yeah.
more
off.
naps. Their
Take more
offensive
naps, more naps,
yeah,
more stats, baby.
more naps. Their offensive line just it doesn't feel complete. I think that could be what makes or breaks them in the season. If their offensive line plays really well, I think they could be very explosive and dangerous. If they don't, I think it could upend what they're doing. Defensively, I don't know that they really added anybody of note. I think maybe obviously Zadarius. I don't even want to think about him. But secondary wise, you have an aging Harrison Smith, still can be effective, but I think they're kind of waiting on those corners to blossom a little bit. So I think it's a little bit of wait and see. I think there's potential there, but it's going to come down to their offensive line and their defensive cohesion. Can they play well and get the unit together in time to kind of
attack Chandler Sullivan?
Yeah, go after him. Exactly. Showtime Sully.
Go ahead, Fred, if you have anything on that.
No, Vikings are bullshit, dude.
Perfect. Hey.
No, I mean, I'm really not. I mean, nothing really about them scares me. I think your point about building a car on a shitty chassis is absolutely ideal. I think that's exactly what they're doing. I think that they're like, trying to come to the party too late, right? Like they're like, oh God, we got to build an offensive team really quick. And they've really focused on some of that, and they haven't really done anything in the trenches. You all know what happens when you don't build in the trenches. It just doesn't work. I mean, we've seen it a million times where teams have gone out and bought all this talent on the outside and in the backfield. They don't have a shit for offensive line, and that just ends up happening. They have a couple guys, and Ezra Cleveland's a pretty good guy. I think he'll have some opportunity. But when it comes to cohesion in the offense, it's just not there. DBs, yeah, like they're old as shit. Don't they have
Pat Peterson?
Patty Peterson, yeah, like he's got to be like
attack him too. Yeah,
like,
let Christian Watson.
I feel like when you just look at the absolute matchup, right? Like their defense has clearly regressed. Our offense, you can, if you're a Vikings fan, you can say, "Oh, you regress too. You don't have Devontae," but I'm still going to take the Packers by 50.
Take Aaron Rodgers over your defense any day.
100%. And then their offense, I don't think really did anything that like changed the pace of that offense. And I think our defense has just drastically gotten better. And I know it's homer talk, but like just look at it. Look at the depth chart. Read the stats. It's just we're better, and I don't see any concern.
Hey, real quick.
Hey, yeah, go for it.
What was I just going to say?
Oh,
man.
How to get that from Mama Jensen?
I had something really cool to say too, and I just forgot it, man.
Well,
Probably not, but anyway.
Just blame it on me.
That's all right. All right. So it's gonna be a good game. I do think
We'll be all right.
I think we'll be all right, and we'll hopefully see the maturations continue. That's what I was gonna say. I knew it. I know what I said. I was gonna say, I feel like the Vikings went into the store and they saw like the Chargers, they saw the Bengals, they saw the Packers, they saw who else was a Shannonite. They saw everybody go get a coach real quick. That was like the new hot thing. And they're like, oh, we need to get one. Let's get Kevin O'Connell. I mean, he was on the team, right?
Hey, I don't know. Was it me and you, Sanjay? I don't know who it was. I think it was you. We talked about like, if they would have just cut the cord 5 years ago, they would have gotten one of those guys that could have changed. Maybe it was Matt. I don't remember who it was, but like they waited too fucking long. And now they're getting like bottom barrel Shannonites. So I feel like they waited too long.
Say what the Bears do.
The league is completely flipped. It's a different world right now. But I will say to your point before, I don't think I got to mention it, but I do agree that I do think that we've ridden the Shanahan wave, right, of coaches. I think we have a few more years of it, and I think then we're going to see that new wave of football. We always go through these weird waves of football where like running backs are important, and then tight ends are the most important thing in the world, and it's like 5 wide. And so I'm very interested to see what that next thing is. But whatever it is, I mean, we still have, this guy. So I'm
This
okay.
man right there.
Exactly. And hopefully defenses still win championships, and we got one of those too. So
All right, predictions. Let it roll.
yeah,
let it roll. Let it roll.
Yeah. Let's get the predictions. Matty Ice, you're up.
Ooh, I actually thought about this today.
Hey, hold on. It's not Matty Ice. It's Matty Naps.
Matty Naps.
Matty Naps.
And it's not an insult because I brought my A game today.
Like little tag on the bottom there.
Matty Naps. I'm of course picking the Packers. I'm never going to pick the Packers losing against the Vikings. I do think it's going to be a very, very close game, and I'm not expecting a lot of scores. I think that neither offense were on the field much at all for the preseason. I think the defenses typically tend to shine a little bit more early on in the season. I know that there's obviously examples of that not being the case, but I think this one's going to, particularly with the Packers defense coming out, and I think that they know what this season's about and they know what they need to be doing. So to me, I think this is going to be a little bit more low scoring, but in the end they pull it out. I'm going to go ahead and say final score. Let's go 23-20. I convinced myself that Mason Crosby is going to come out and kick us to a win.
All right, Fred.
Oh man, I wasn't ready. I was changing his name to Matty Naps.
To get the bet emoji even better.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go. Hold on, let me do math real quick.
I mean, you only have one number.
All right, so I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna go.
Burger.
A burger.
No, I'm gonna go.
Steak.
Shrimp.
I'm gonna go Packers 30, Vikings 17.
Yeah, okay. I love it. I hope you're right, and I'm not. That sounds good to me.
Quick synopsis. I think we come out. I think they're hyped, right? They're super pumped. They're in their own place. They're going to be very excited. They might get one good drive on us, but then I think it stops there, and I think everything after that just becomes our game, and they get a couple late touchdowns off of some just classic Viking bullshit. But yeah, 30-17.
Sanjay, what do you got? Let's go.
If
everybody in the chat's been waiting for this, everybody's been waiting all off season.
If Elton Jenkins and David Bakhtiari were not playing, I'd have us losing in a heartbeat. Not even
how?
Yeah, just because
a heartbeat.
Who's gonna protect Rodgers? I'm sorry.
Yash.
Yeah,
we had guys last year that protected us all year.
Stopping at the bit, like yum. Yeah,
Danielle.
Are they playing? Are they playing? So I didn't predict.
They didn't play last year, and they dominated.
I didn't predict them to lose. I didn't predict. I said if they were injured and out, I would have them losing. But I have them winning.
Goddamn disgrace, you know that.
I'm not a disgrace. I'm just laying out.
Take
facts.
a nap. Take a nap.
I did take a nap. All right, I took a nap. All right.
There you go.
Packers win this game. I have this game as a 28-14 victory. I think it is the defense that really is the sounding board, and actually 28-14.
So Bakhtiari is going to score 2 touchdowns.
Pick 6 from Jair.
Okay,
calling it. Pick 6 from Jair.
He's going to
start his defensive player campaign, player of the year campaign in week 1, and he's going to show that cornerbacks can win the trophy too.
I will say this. I 100% think that there will be a defensive touchdown. I'm not going to limit it to Jair because he's not.
I know. I just
statistically done it. But I 100% expect, and it's not a pick. I think there will be a fumble recover,
scoop and score.
It usually is.
And I actually think it's going to be like a linebacker, defensive lineman is going to.
Yeah, I mean, I should have probably said Brazil Douglas because that's what he does. But I'm gonna kind of agree with Isaac on him maybe taking a regression. If that was Isaac that said it, or
Matty Naps, what do you got for your one interesting take from the game that you think's gonna happen?
Quick,
my one interesting take from the game is going to be that AJ Dillon is going to outrush Aaron Jones.
Fair enough.
Fred,
I told you defensive touchdown. I don't know who it is, but it's gonna be it's probably gonna be a scoop and score.
Rodgers is going to throw 2 interceptions, but he's not going to be the reason that we lose. That's my interesting take.
You're on.
I know. Maybe he's going to take a little bit more chances. It's a new Rodgers. He's got
3 interceptions like in a whole year.
I know. Hey. He threw 2 against the Jaguars or the Saints in that one in last year.
Maddie, play the song.
Let's get ready to rumble.
With that being said, that's Fred, that's Matt. I'm Sanjay. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's Freezer podcast. Come check us out next week at 6. Until then, Go.
Let's
Pack.
get ready to
Go Pack.
rumble.